Welcome back to the channel and good morning. Today is, I don't even know what today is. Today is July 12th. I got a lot of requests on my TikTok to do a more in-depth video of how to start your own sourdough starter. And I promise you, it is not as complicated as all these other people make it. Sourdough starter and sourdough baking is really easy. It's just time consuming. So we're gonna start the starter today and show you guys the process of what your starter, excuse me, I'm trying to talk. Of what your starter should look like while it's starting to get started. Is that funny to you? You do want to use unbleached flour. I use the cheap flour. I use all-purpose unbleached flour. You can use rye or wheat depending on what kind of sourdough you would like. And for best results, use filtered water for best results. So day one, we just simply mix together some water, some flour, cover the mason jar, and I'm gonna sit it in the windowsill because you want it in sort of a warm spot. If you don't have small kids or your kids don't have access to your oven, I would put it in the oven with the light on and the door open. But I have small children and they have access to the kitchen, so I cannot do that. So I'm gonna sit it in the windowsill. You're gonna wanna cover the mason jar up, but you still want air to get to the starter. So you can either cover it up with a coffee filter or a nut bag. I don't have any coffee filters, so I'm gonna cover mine with a nut bag. Or you can cover it with a paper towel too. That's fine. What? Yeah. If you're going to be doing sourdough, definitely invest in a kitchen scale. It's more precise because a cup of water and a cup of flour does not weigh the same. So, a lot of recipes want your sourdough to be 100% hydrated. 100% hydration means that it's equal parts of everything. Equal parts water, equal parts flour, equal parts sourdough starter when your sourdough starter gets officially official. To start our sourdough starter, we're just going to do 50 grams of flour to 50 grams of water. Definitely make sure that you weigh your jar and cancel out how much your jar weighs, or else your measurements are going to be off. And that is basically it, and all you need to do to start your starter on day one. Now we're just going to give it a good stir, and the utensil you use doesn't matter. I know everybody says not to use silverware and stuff. It honestly, truly does not matter. You can use whatever you want to give it a good stir, get everything incorporated, and now we're just covering it up with the paper towel and going to wait 24 hours and feed it again. Day two of our starters. It looks like a normal starter. You can already tell that this is actually starting to bubble, which this is a good thing. Once again, I am feeding the starter 50 grams of flour to 50 grams of water. So basically, you are wanting your starter to look like thick pancake batter. That's what your starter should look like. Excuse my twins in the background. They're twins. They're fighting. Sibling rivalry stuff. Even starts at a young age. But we'll be back tomorrow to do day 3 of the feeding. Day 3 of feeding. You can see those bubbles in there. all of that bubbling is a very, very good sign. So I'm gonna discard and refeed it. And then tomorrow is day 4 when we start feeding it every 12 hours to really kickstart that activation. And then on day 7, we will bake with our brand new starter. Do not put this down your drain. It will ruin your drain. Throw it away. Once your starter is established, you do not have to discard. If you bake with it, you can, if you bake with it, that is technically considered your discardation. Is that a word? So if you bake, you do not have to discard. That would be considered your discarding. What people also fail to tell you is you do not have to feed it every day once it is established. You feed it when you want to bake with it. The rest of the time, leave it in the fridge. That's what I do. I bake with my starter at least once a week. This is my current starter now. I plan on making at least 4 loaves of bread, and if I have enough, I'm going to make some blueberry rolls, blueberry lemon rolls. So this should double, and I should have enough to be able to do that. But baking with that, that is considered my discarding. And then once I'm done, if I'm done baking for the week, I'll put it back in the fridge and it will stay in the fridge for a week. You can leave your starter in the fridge for like 3 months, 4 months, and then take it out, feed it, and it will reactivate. It is very hard to kill your starter, just so you know. So don't get discouraged. I'm trying to teach you everything that nobody taught me, and I kind of just had to figure out myself, because people tend to make sourdough very confusing when it's really not. I discarded a lot of it, and the reason for discarding is so you don't make an abundance of starter. If you're not baking a lot, you do not need that much starter. When I first started, I had one of those giant jars filled with starter and was discarding half. I had this discard coming out of my ears because I was saving it to make discard recipes with. And let me tell you, it's a waste of time and a waste of materials. Don't do that. Don't make a giant thing of it if you're not going to bake a lot. Oh, of course, this bag has a hole in it. What I'm doing is I'm zeroing out the weight of the jar. And then I'm gonna measure how much is in the jar. So 98 grams of starter is in the jar, and now I'm going to feed it 98 grams of flour to 98 grams of water. Day 4 of our sourdough starting process. So I put a little too much water in it yesterday and got the separation. This is called a hooch. Now I will tell you that if you sit your sourdough starter in the fridge for a while, you will develop something like this. But don't worry, that is completely 100% normal. You just stir it in and everything's fine. As long as your starter doesn't have mold, your starter is good. So today we are going to start feeding every 12 hours. So I am feeding it at 7:30 this morning. And more than likely, I won't wait the full 12 hours because I go to bed pretty early. I'll probably feed again at like 6:30. I had someone ask me today about sourdough discard on my TikTok. Sourdough discard is very simple. You don't really need to discard. What I do is I'll keep my starter in the fridge. When I'm not using it, I bake maybe once or twice a week. I'll take it out a couple of hours before I'm ready to feed it and get it active and ready. But other than that, my starter lives in my fridge. You do not have to feed your starter every day. You do not have to discard every day. It's a waste of so much supplies. When I first started, I thought you had to feed and discard every day. No, you do not. Take it from me now before you get into this. Keep it in the fridge. Once you establish it, I would give it probably about 2 weeks to get fully established. And then once you do that, and it's nice and bubbly, keep it in the fridge. Don't waste material trying to feed it every day and then discard, because you'll end up with a bunch of discard that you don't know what to do with. When I first started, I had discard coming out of my ears. I couldn't bake enough. I was constantly baking with the discard and it just kept piling back up. So, take it from me. Don't feed every day. Once it's established, put it in the fridge and use it when you need it. If you want to make sourdough discard recipes, you can honestly use your starter, because all sourdough discard is inactive starter. I have some discard in my fridge just in case I kill my starter, so that way I can reactivate it. So if you want to do that, that's a good idea. But other than that, keep your starter in the fridge. And if you're wanting to make pancakes or muffins with your sourdough discard, just use your starter that's been sitting in the fridge. I believe today is day 5 of doing our starter. I did feed it last night. Yes, I see it. It's okay. Hold, please. I have to make bagels. Yes, I got it.
It's Tuesday. It's not working. Tuesday. Stop. Wait. Stop.
Back to what I was saying. I did feed this last night. I just didn't film it because I was so tired. I just wanted to get it done and over with. But as you can tell, this is where the starter was, and it has risen a little bit. Not much, but that's okay. That's good. Pro tip, although I'm not a pro, when your starter starts becoming very active, put something underneath it to catch the overflow, because I promise a lot of times it will overflow. And I see all these starter moms. Yes, we consider ourselves starter moms because, I mean, this is like my 6th child. All these starter moms putting their starter in the cabinet without anything underneath it. It's okay. It's okay. Without anything underneath it, and then are like, I have to clean this mess up. My question is, why didn't you put anything underneath it? So when your starter starts becoming super active, this is my active starter now. I fed it last night. It's pretty much double. Put a pan underneath. Put a sheet pan underneath. If it overflows, you can take this and wash it. Look how bubbly that is. It's not as bubbly as my starter that has been established, but it's pretty bubbly.
Dog. You are a dog. Weird.
Look at my plants. They are shooting up. I can't wait to get them planted in the garden. Today is day 6. Our starter by now should be looking really good. It should be nice and bubbly. We're gonna discard. I'm going to probably go ahead and discard most of this because this is way too much. You will never need this much sourdough starter unless you're making a couple of loaves of bread. So I'm going to discard most of this, feed it again, and we'll be making bread with it. Just to show you guys the bread making process as well. I don't know if you can really see how you can. I discarded most of it. When it comes to the recipe that I use, you only need about 150 grams of starter. So you don't need that much. I am so upset with myself. I recorded the whole process of making the bread for you guys to show you what it looks like. And because I didn't properly eject my SD card from my computer from when I was editing last time, the files are corrupted. None of the files are working. So unfortunately, I can't end this video on me showing you guys the process of making the bread, but the bread did turn out really good. This is from our starter that we started 7 days ago together. It looks so good. It tastes so good. I will have the recipe that I use in the description. You can go check it out. If you would like me to do a step-by-step on how to make the bread, I will happily do that for you. Unfortunately, it's not happening in this video. I'm so mad at myself. So mad. It's just a reminder to eject your SD card. Like, seriously, eject your SD card. I hope you guys have a great week. If you're new here, go check out more of my videos on my channel. I don't do tutorial videos often. I mostly post vlogging videos and a day in my life and things like that. And thanks for watching, guys. I'm so sorry about the bread. Just know it came out really good, and I hope this eases your sourdough bread making journey.